We're going to stay here all night if we have to, so let's get started.
It's time, America, for the #1 conservative common sense podcast that's calling out all the social justice, political correctness crap and putting it on the run.
Do you think you can handle it?
So hop in and buckle up and get ready to ride with two straight-shooting, tell it like it is, ex-street cops.
And they know how to party with few inhibitions.
As they give the special interest and weak-kneed politicians a swift kick in the ass.
Wow, is that legal?
With some good old-fashioned common sense.
Bring it on, baby.
It's Cop Talk USA with your hosts, Murillo and French.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Cop Talk USA. I'm here with my good friend and partner, Dave Murillo. Dave?
Raj, how you doing?
I'm doing good. This is our Thanksgiving show.
Yeah, this is the show before Turkey Day.
Are you dressed up as a turkey today?
No.
You got big plans, or you got a big shootout plan going?
We're staying home. A couple of the kids and their significant others and grandkids are coming over, and two of my other children, they're driving down to Missouri. One's going to Kansas City, the other Branson for some family stuff there. So it'll just be two of the kids.
Oh, there you go. I'm going to stay home, probably watch porn or something. No. I got family members coming over.
Hey, Roger, I love your honesty.
Hey, whatever, whatever turns it on, baby. Whatever, rock and roll.
All right.
Oh, my Cyclones took a hit in Oklahoma, but you know what? I was proud of them.
They did a good job.
They fought hard.
That's right. And I think Matt Campbell's going to continue to improve that team and get them back where they need to be. COVID screwed so many things up in our world, but I was proud of them Cyclones. They did a good job. And then Iowa, they came back and beat Illinois. So state of Iowa's got some great college football, bar none.
Yeah, I know you're not into this, but I'm into the basketball scene up there, and we've already played 4 games, and we already doubled what we won last year because we only won 2 games. But they're an exciting team. They work. Not a lot of stars on the team, but the whole thing, they just work harder than anybody I've ever seen, and I'm just excited. Not that I'm ready to move on football because I know we got a bowl game coming up. Hopefully, Friday they play football up there against TCU, and it's important that they win that, or they're going to be in like a bowl game in like North Dakota or something.
Well, I think I've mentioned this before. My other partner and we owned and ran West Des Moines Little Pro Youth Football, and the AD for the Cyclones, Jamie Pollard, his son played youth football for me. So,
right.
I got nothing but respect for him. He's a stand-up dude. And, hey, you know what? You've made me into an Iowa State fan, Roger.
Well, there you go. Well, and, not to disparage our Iowa fans, they're playing Friday at noon against the Cornhuskers.
Yeah, and
there.
I'll tell you, that stud that helped Ankeny win last year at the high school level here of the state 4A championship, he's showing his talent. That Arlen Bruce playing for Iowa. This kid's a Stark Raven stud.
Well, and the other thing I watched and I think we talked about, I watched the 5A football game. Yeah. Southeast Polk took out Ankeny.
Yep.
And they got a couple kids on that team.
Both teams, they have a lot of kids whose football careers are far, far from over.
Yeah. I was impressed. I was talking to somebody. I said, because I always remembered Southeast Polk as not being that big, but that school district's really grown. It's taken, a lot of people.
Yeah, they're huge now, and their population
5A.
base keeps growing.
Yeah,
and that's huge. I predict in the future the 3 predominant powerhouse football teams in 5A football will be Southeast Polk, Ankeny, and Waukee. All 3 communities are booming in growth.
Well, it was exciting football.
Yeah.
I saw that game, and it was, not as exciting as the Oklahoma game to watch, but it was good quality ball.
Oh, it's good football. Yeah, both teams deserve to be there. They both played their hearts out. And there's a winner and a loser, so
love that.
Onward and upward.
Well, our hearts and prayers go out to the folks up in Waukesha. That's where that ass clown drove his car up in the parade and killed 5 people and injured like 42.
Yeah, he killed some little kids, too. And then there's still some children in critical condition, too, up there at a local children's. You watch this crap, and I'm sure if you're like me, folks, you think, what in the hell is this world coming to when some jackass like that does something heinous like that? These people are just enjoying a Christmas parade, and he pulls a stunt like that.
Well, the problem I have with this is that This guy is a felon. He was out on low bond, a $1,000 low bond, known sex offender. He just had a list. This was a career criminal. And the prosecutor up there gives him a low bond, and he campaigned on this, that he was going to let these guys out. But then they turn around up there, and obviously Kenosha's not the same town, and they paint Kyle Rittenhouse, and boy, they want to hang him.
Yeah.
But guys like this go by, and they're already starting to make excuses for this guy in the car. Yeah. They're already starting to make excuses. And I'm going to tell you another thing that irritates me, and I'm going to say this, and a lot of people are going to be upset, but this is a man of color. And I normally don't address this because, to me, this wasn't a man of color. This is an asshole. Criminals are criminals. Black, white, they come in all different colors. But in this case, this was a man of color. He's a black guy. And he runs into a parade of all these white people, and he kills them. And not one word is said about anything. But I guarantee you, if those roles were reversed, it would be race, race, race. That's all you'd hear. CNN would be up there. They'd be going. But nobody's condemning this guy, not doing a thing. And it just makes me kind of say, I hate the double standards.
It's the hypocrisy, and the nation's had their guts full of it. I like we said before, big change is coming. Even some of the leftists now realize, hey, we can't continue down this road and continue to maintain and live in the country we like living in. It don't work that way. These extremists, they don't like the United States, but they've created the perfect storm.
Well, again, and before I know Karen's going to be on me, I'm going to probably have a bunch of hate mail and hate stuff. I usually, when I talk about crime, I talk about the criminals. This is a guy who makes bad decisions. He's done it all his life. He's a career criminal. Race doesn't come to play in this. And the only reason I do bring it up is because the left, those liberals, the CNNs, the CNBCs, they can't wait to do it except when it's obvious. Yep. I had, like I said, on the deal with Rittenhouse, I had people claiming, oh, that's racist. So wait a minute, everybody involved in there is white. So how's it racist? Well, they're not treating him the same as well. He was found guilty or innocent by his own peers.
The thing that I was struck by during this Kyle Rittenhouse verdict and the trial was of all the ignoramuses in this country who watch this thing unfold, and because they don't like it, it's this, that, and the other thing. And the extremists are trying this poor kid in the court of public opinion.
Right.
And that's not our judicial system. We believe that you're innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
What was it? CNBC was trying to intimidate the jury, fall on the jury bus. The judge had to bar him out of the courtroom.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be the day when CBS and all those people, they were news media. They didn't try to influence.
They're activists.
That's exactly right.
They're activists. They're not giving you the news. Boy, what would I give for Walter Cronkite?
Oh, yeah.
A guy who just got up there and say, today in the news.
Yeah,
give me the news, Walt. That's all I want. I don't want your opinions.
And what you heard, you could believe. It wasn't him twisting it. It wasn't him making stuff up to fit a narrative.
Yep.
That's what they did. And I just don't know. It's very frustrating. And it seems like every story, if it doesn't fit their narrative, they leave it alone. And either way, I just think that if you take color out of a lot of this stuff and it just becomes criminals and stuff.
It's a mindset through decades of indoctrination. Most of these radical left-wing extremists, they don't know that they're stupid and ignorant. They really don't. It's because this is the way they've been raised.
Well, and we talk about this guy up there making bad decisions, right? He's a criminal. He's a felon. He got in the car. They said he was involved in something, but he drove through and he drove a speed and ran through it. But here's a guy that makes these decisions. I'm going to kind of pivot now. When we talk about criminals and we talk about people that make decisions and do that, our Des Moines City Council elected one of those people. And I don't know.
Citizenry elected one to the Des Moines City Council.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm sorry. Yeah. They got bamboozled, and nobody talked about this. And I just found this out. This Indidra Shoemaker, she's 27 years old. I just found out that she had been charged with a felony on assault with a police officer with the intent to commit serious injury to him. Was charged for disorderly conduct, interference with official acts, criminal mischief, the whole 9 yards. And it got reduced down, and she still pled guilty to it, but it got reduced down to a serious misdemeanor. Since when do we elect people that make decisions like that? Is that the kind of person we want making decisions based on our future and our income? I mean,
no, but the Des Moines City Council set up either by at-large positions or ward, and she won a ward seat that encompasses the Drake University area. And Drake University is so left. Drake
Well, that
University,
Beaverdale.
yeah,
Beaverdale.
you couldn't drive if you're Drake University. You couldn't drive down the road, or you're so left to center, you're going to get in a head-on collision. They're just left to center.
Well, how would you like to be the chief of police who has to report to the city council where you have a person actively on the board who has already come out and said they want to fire you, they want to fire the city manager, they want to defund the police, they want to take guns out of police officers' hips, have them do car stops unarmed? I mean, that kind of stupidity, and I don't know what the citizens are thinking.
Well, what's going to happen is the council members that do have some intelligence, they're going to single her out, and her vote will mean nothing to them. She will not get an agenda going. And if she attacks the police chief, the fire chief, or the city manager, or other council members, organizations like ours are going to come down on her like an avalanche. We have no room in society for haters, people who've got a preconceived notion about something they know nothing about. This woman knows nothing about police work, nothing.
The only thing she knows, her only experience, like I've said, with police has been from the backseat of a squad car or the back of the wagon.
Bracelets.
She's
stainless steel.
She's been in jail. She's assaulted a police officer, and I don't know if to be elected an official. And this is a question I'd like to ask somebody. Is there a qualification? Can you run and take office even if you're a convicted felon? Can they do that? Can a felon hold office? Can they? I don't know.
I know that when you elect somebody, anybody can run for office, and everybody gets paranoid when they see somebody's indicted. Oh my gosh, he got indicted. You can indict a ham sandwich. That doesn't mean they're guilty. That doesn't mean you're going to get a conviction.
Yeah. Well, she was involved, and she pled guilty to the assault on a police officer. Mm-hmm. So she wears that like a badge, and she's not afraid to do it. She also was involved in, I believe, criminal mischief, burning squad cars. I think she was involved with the Hy-Vee thing. I'm not sure on that. But I know she was charged with, I take that back, vandalism of a police car in June of 2020. So absolutely she was. But our John Saccone kind of let us down on that deal. He let her off the hook. He should have, done that. And the other thing is, whoever she ran against, why they weren't standing at the rafters calling her out during the election, I don't know. Maybe they were afraid that
Bill Gray was trying to keep his seat. He's a nice guy, but if you're going to get involved in politics today, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, moderate, independent, you better be ready to get in there and slug it out, because if you don't, you're going to lose. Don't let somebody box you in or paint you as this when you're not this. And if you're not prepared to get nasty, just stay out of it, because politics is an ugly, wicked game.
Well, that's right. And I'll tell you, Bill Gray did a lot for that district.
Yes.
All those improvements up on 6th Avenue, he put together. He ramrodded. He negotiated. I don't see her negotiating anything. I think the other city council members are going to have to shut her down. And I hope they do.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
We'll monitor it. We'll be on it. I can tell our listeners this. We'll
also,
have a
folks,
report on her.
Understand this. I know a little bit about city councils because I ran for and was elected to the Norwalk City Council, which, for folks not familiar with the Des Moines area, that's a suburb to south of Des Moines. I was on there 4 years, and I'm very well versed in municipal budgets, community developed block grant money, enterprise funding, all this sort of boring government lingo. And she better get right with the program, because that's what is going to entail about 95% of her job duties.
Well, what I think really she got on there to do, between you and me, she now has a pulpit. She can stand and run her mouth without being shut down, because before she'd come to the city council, they'd kick her out.
Yeah.
Now she's got I think that's what she's going to do.
We'll see.
Up there and run her mouth.
We'll see.
Time. Yeah.
Time will tell.
Hey, I want to talk about the show today a little bit. We've got a great guest coming on. We're going to get him, John Shaffer, former homicide detective for Des Moines PD. We're going to get him on here in a little bit. I'm going to talk about upcoming weeks, because we've got some good guests coming up. Next week, we got the top cop of Des Moines coming in here. Dana Winger's going to be on. The week after that, I got one of my favorite guys, John Quinn from Waukee Chiefs Police, former Big 12 player, Big 10, I think, at the time. Great football player. So he's going to be joining us. And so everybody, you certainly want to stay tuned and do that.
Oh, and I'll add too, Roger, as the political races heat up starting next year locally and statewide and nationally, we'll have a lot of the big name folks in here, so you can hear from them in person, and we'll ask them the hard questions.
We will. And we'll also have some people in. We'll have, we had Carl's folks in, and we got some gun people we're going to talk to about coming in. we'll try to keep it up, keep it fresh. So stay tuned. I want to tell everybody, I always do this, how you can get a hold of us. Obviously, Cop Talk USA. You can go on our online there. We're also on the platforms of YouTube, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Apple, and TuneIn. One of the things I want to say, if you guys get on Spotify, and I'll have a link that'll be added to our webpage, our Facebook page. Click on that because that's a real good platform. It lists all the shows, and I know some people have said their players have stopped, and that's based on internet connection sometimes. But that Spotify is a great platform to listen to. You can call us 1-800-431-7074, 1-800-431-7074. Leave us a message. Mail us at coptalkusa.com. Facebook, Cop Talk USA Facebook. You can do that, and I think that's what we're going to do. Dave, you got a couple people.
I do. My brother Pat, big shout out to him, and his son Jacob Murillo is a Polk County deputy. They called this week and just love the show. They're supporting it, and at some point in time, we'll get
Didn't you say some of the Polk County deputies up there kind of giving us a listen too?
They're digging it. And
all right.
Let me stop for just a second here. One thing we can do on this show as former police officers, we can say the things that a lot of your active officers, including your supervisors, can't say because they answer to the politicians. We don't answer to them, okay? So you'll hear the straight scoop from us, and the law enforcement community that's still active, they're digging this.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
Exactly. I want to give some shout-outs, Dave, to some folks that I see. Basically, I get them off the Facebook. I see they like our stuff. Tony Rincon, Dee Ewing, Sue Meeker, Chris Molstead, Matt Groh, Linda Powers, friend of ours, Dave Mulford. I think he's still in the department down there.
Yeah, for now, I think he's nearing the end.
He's until they've
He can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Dave, Dave, you haven't been caught yet, so you're still there. Anyway, and Tina Diedler. Tina's there. Bob Johnson, give him a shout out.
Yep.
And Bob sent me a deal today about in Austin. They're replacing some of the officers. Not replacing them.
I saw that.
They're adding civilians, but I think that's like the cadet program.
No, what they're wanting to do down there is they're wanting to basically send civilians trained in mental health into domestic scenes where people with mental health illnesses are. And folks, that's about as stupid of an idea I've ever heard because
is that right?
Oh my gosh! Oh,
you're going to send a that's going to work out.
I mean, this
doesn't have an assault report.
This,
they can do.
Yeah, this is your left wing thinking here. They got it all figured out, folks. Never mind the fact they have no idea what it's like to pin on a badge or take one of these trips. But you're going to send a civilian into a scene where you got a guy or gal who isn't playing with a full deck and who's violent. Some of these people are violent as hell, and you're going to send a civilian in there. You let me know how that ends.
Unarmed civilian.
Yeah.
Because most shootings, when officers have to take deadly force, it's not because those people are square or they know they got their heads on straight. They're they'll have some new homicides, some new assault reports.
Well, if you like getting your ass kicked, put in for one of them jobs.
Go volunteer.
Yeah.
Probably pays real well, too.
You want to kind of see what that looks like. Watch that movie, Little Shop of Horrors, when Bill Murray's in the dentist chair and Steve Martin's prying on his teeth with all them stains. Like getting your butt kicked. That's your job.
Des Moines had a cadet program, and it made sense. Cadets would go out and they'd take stolen bike reports and stuff like that. Made sense. There's no sense of tying up an officer doing a stolen bike report. They need to be for when the perpetrator's there, the suspect and stuff. Yeah. And I went through that cadet program. It was a hell of a program.
When you were wearing that, I thought you were a milkman, Roger.
I tried to be. I milked it all right. Let me tell you something. I milked that job. That was one of the best jobs. I had the 10 to 5 traffic unit. Actually it's 10 to 6 or whatever it was, and drove those little postal carts around.
Yeah.
Would go find a good hiding spot, read the paper, eat my big Crip Trick burrito, especially off a tough night. Anyway, let's, Bob, we're going to go into our fallen officer segment. Would you real quick? Well, Dave, we lost some officers this week, and we always do this. I got 3 that I'm going to bring up here. In Independence County, Arkansas, they lost Deputy Sheriff Frank Ramirez, Jr. He died in a single vehicle crash there November 18th and passed away. Also, Blair County, Pennsylvania, at the jail there. They lost a correctional officer, Rhonda Jean Russell. She was there, and the prisoner turned on her. They got into a struggle. Another officer came in with it and pulled his gun. The prisoner was holding her, and he grabbed her gun, and when he grabbed it, the other officer shot, and he moved her in front of the line of fire and killed her. And they ended up getting him and arresting him, charging him with murder, but she passed away. And that was on November 17th as well. Mario Gonzalez, I think I'm pronouncing that, Gonzalez, he was a Boone officer.
I saw that.
And he was killed in a traffic accident off duty. That happened Saturday night.
I saw that.
That's kind of local.
Also in the guard, too, and leaves behind, some
two children and a wife.
Yep.
It's real sad to do. So, and we had a number, unfortunately, too many to mention COVID deaths.
Yeah. Well, and
lose them every week, man.
Nothing that happens across the country 24/7, 365 is these police officers are getting injured. They don't necessarily succumb to their injuries, but they're breaking arms, legs. They're getting hit, injured, stabbed, kicked, bit. This is a huge part of what ultimately ends up causing attrition in police work. You can only take so many beatings before you bow out.
Well, a lot of officers do hearts too. I mean, they go that stress.
Yeah.
This is a stressful job. If you can't handle it, if you don't handle it right, it can cause you problems. I know.
And one, I ran the police union and the police association for years. Piece of advice, and most cops know this: keep your non-police friends.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't just hang out with cop buddies, because all you do is talk shop and you talk about promotions and who's kissing ass to get promoted next and the trips you made and then the war stories.
Right.
Keep your non-police friends as close to you as you do your police brothers and sisters. Helps that stress.
Keeps you. You know who does a great job of that? Mike Moody. Mike was on last week.
Yeah.
He's in a band. He's got a lot of non-police friends, and he really does a great job of that. He's an inspiration. So anyway, well, Dave, I think it's time. Bob. It's time.
And now it's time for
Ass Hats of the Week.
It's time.
Yes, it's true.
He's a real ass. Oh, that's Dave's favorite. Man, it's mine. Dave, do you got one this week?
I do.
All right,
once again, it's a mass blanket of ass hats. I just sit back dumbfounded when I watch the news and I watch all these imbeciles who upset with the Kyle Rittenhouse case, who throw fact right out the window, don't care about any of the evidence. He's wrong for being there, yet they don't talk about the three buttholes that were there doing worse things.
Criminals.
Yeah,
felons.
They have rap sheets as long as our arms. One had a handgun.
Right.
And I watch all these people, and I try not to stay on Fox News all the time, but I find out that they are probably the most accurate. Not always, but boy, the MSNBC and CNN and NBC and CBS and ABC, they are nothing but an arm for the left-wing Democratic Party. And we say this all the time, Roger. We have tons of patriotic blue dog Democrat friends.
Yeah.
That's not who we're talking about here. We're talking about the AOCs and the rest of the goofy squad. This president, he ain't playing with a full deck. I don't know where his VP is. It's just, we're in a world of hurt here, folks. It's sickening.
He got to eat a little crow over the Rittenhouse deal, didn't he? He came out and said, "Oh, he's a criminal and he's a white supremacist," and the jury said, "No, he's not."
You know what? As goofy as he is, you could probably feed him crow this Thursday. He'll think it's turkey. He don't know what he's eating.
Well, I think you're about right. I got to tell you, my ass hat, it kind of dovetails that, and it's that Thomas Binger. He was the prosecutor up there who rushed to judgment, filed, and then did such a terrible job of process. I mean, you almost think, are you trying to lose this case? Because, I tried to look at it objectively and say, do they right? I mean, any idiot looking at it would go, there's no charges here. This guy's justified. I guess the Rittenhouse was chasing the other guys. If you played the video backwards, that's the only way you got.
Well, just see it when that dumbass pointed that AR at the jury.
Oh yeah.
He must hang out with Alec Baldwin.
I was waiting for that to go off. I mean, this guy is probably the worst. And of course, he stood up and told the jury, well, if he stays silent, he's guilty. It's a sign. I mean, the judge just went after him on that deal. You can't. Silence isn't. That's your right.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're guilty. And it seems to me that they set of standards for him, for Rittenhouse, for this deal was so much different than some of the other people that they do. It's too.
Well, he was instantly, in the eyes of extreme radical leftists and progressives, he was instantly guilty because he was using a firearm. Of course, we know firearms, they're dangerous, Roger. If you went out and bought 13 guns tonight, suffice it to say, once you put them on the counter, at some point in time, all them guns are going to get up, walk down your front steps, and go down the street. They're going to go kill people. The guns do it.
Well, in the Rittenhouse, somebody asked me about this the other day, and I said, look, he was well within his rights. He was attacked. Bang, bang, bang. Now, does that mean if it was my son or your son, we'd load him in a car with a gun and take him to a riot? No. I mean, there's just certain things that, like I told you, it'd be like me on a Saturday night going down to Southeast Bottoms in a Hispanic bar saying, and carrying a gun. I'm probably going to get in a fight, and I'm probably going to have to shoot myself out of it. Yeah. Am I going to be legally right? Well, if they attack me, but it's just
you wouldn't be there. You wouldn't be there to begin with. And most people, they don't get up in the morning and yawn and say, you know what, baby, I think it'd be a damn fine day to go do some rioting, looting, maybe bust a few storefront windows, and assault some police and jump up and down on the hood of a police car like the asshole that you are. Yeah, that's nice.
Well, I'm pleased the verdict came out the way it should. I know they've got a couple other trials going and just completely different circumstances. At the end of the day, you can't chase a guy down, and you can't, certain things you just can't do. But anyway.
That wraps that up.
Yeah, it does. I want to get to our segment, Spotlight on Excellence. And we do that every show, and we select a department, we talk about them. And this week, I called the Altoona Police Department. Mm-hmm. They are, the east side of Des Moines out there. They've got 35 officers and 3 support people. Matter of fact, I got some information from a young lady, Brianna, out there. Brianna's her name, and she knew Dave, and she knows your daughter.
Yep.
Great gal, and was real helpful. That department's run by Greg Stallman. He's been there. He's the chief, been there for about 5 years. They have 3 divisions: patrol, investigation, and support services. They are over a city of about 21,000 people. Now, with that being said, they have a big, large casino out there. They're the only city in Des Moines that handles a casino. They've got a large Adventureland, which is a large amusement park. They have huge shopping out there. So they get an influx of people out there. I would imagine that city doubles in size from time to time.
Oh, yeah. They got Bass Pro Shop out there.
And so, and they're running that casino. That goes 24/7. And so they're supporting, I think, counties out there helping them do the security in the casino. But nice department, does a great job. You don't hear much about them as far as any turmoil or anything. And again, Brandon, thank you for helping me. And Dave, we talked about it. He thinks
I'm sure you were very flattering of me, Roger, to her.
I was with the Thanksgiving turkey, Dave. We're putting some celery at him. So, which leads us to our next deal. Our guest.
Yes.
David, you want to do the introduction?
I'll introduce this. He's a great friend of mine. He was a great friend of my late father, Abel. I worked with him for decades at the Des Moines Police Department. And bar none, folks, bar none, we are about to talk to one of the best ever homicide detectives, and he held the rank of detective. It wasn't a name. He held the rank of detective. One of the best homicide detectives the Des Moines Police Department's Detective Bureau ever had. John Shaffer. John, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, John. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Not a problem.
Yeah, we knew he'd get it out. Dave put this deal together, and yeah. How long were you down there for?
32 years, 4 months, and 11 days.
He's got it in 22 minutes. It's beer time. I got to go. Yeah. Well, that's and you were a detective there for how
long? Almost 25 years.
Wow. Now, I always ask this question. I should know this, and I don't know why I don't. To be a detective, homicide detective, do you have to go through special training for that, or is that just you learn that as you go and pick up those?
When I went on, I was see lightning, hear thunder.
Oh, is that right? Well, that makes some sense. Now, Dave, were you in homicide there?
No, I was in charge of fire, arson, death, and sometimes John and I's paths would cross.
You guys work together?
Because a robbery would turn into a homicide, things like that. So we crisscrossed paths.
And there was an occasional lateral transfer.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about that, John. And,
okay.
I'll start it off here, Roger.
Oh, no.
There was a magazine called City View.
Right.
Okay. And they did a big story on John here one day. And They were talking to old John about what was one of the most prominent memory homicides that you ever investigated. And so I'll let John pick up from here and tell the listeners what he told the reporters.
It went south.
Uh-oh. Okay. Now I really want to hear it.
What he was wanting, what the guy kept asking me, and it wasn't just me that was in there, it was the whole section.
That's right.
And I wasn't there the day that they started, and nobody told me what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guy went back and was talking to him, and he kept on me about crime scene humor, gallows humor.
Yeah.
And I kept telling him it's not appropriate. We just don't do that. And finally, I said, all right, here we go. I said, we was over at a suicide one day over on the east side. Gal had shot herself in the head with a 12 gauge.
Not much left for that.
Oh, and I think it was Randy Dawson that was with me when he first came upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I asked him, I said, Randy, what color are her eyes? And he said, I don't know. I said, they're blue. One blue this way and one blue that way.
Now that's homicide humor.
Well, it gets better.
Oh.
Okay, then Assistant Chief of the Detective Bureau, Bill McCarthy, he found no humor in that because it's printed. It's in this little newspaper.
Oh, no.
I almost brought that paper with me. I've got a copy of that.
So they say this jokingly up in the Detective Bureau. You have crimes against persons,
Right.
which is called the A team. Then you have crimes against property, which they called the B team. Well, I was on the B team, burglary, things like that.
Outhouses and bird baths.
Yeah, that's not, yeah. Now, never mind the fact that I went to fire scenes where there were dead people there and had to do the same thing he would do at a homicide scene, only, everything was crispy. So, at any rate, they moved John. They transferred John. McCarthy transferred John down to the B team. And McCarthy was PO'd. And here comes John down the hallway. He's got his bags packed.
With that cart.
Yeah, he looked like he was homeless. They sent him down to be with Dave. And you were there how long?
5 weeks.
5 weeks. Yeah.
My last day there was the 5th of May, 1995.
Yeah.
Because I wrote on my work report that day, Cinco de Mayo. And they, and they sent me back to property or to persons.
I'll never forget that. And consequently, McCarthy later softened up on it, and realized that he probably overreacted. But everybody's always paranoid about perception down there. Well, guess what? The citizenry, they have a sense of humor too.
Well,
Yes, they do.
when you're dealing with death and stuff, you need a sense of humor down there if you don't have it.
That's one thing. I never took my job home with me,
Right.
ever. That's why I'm just nuts now. I'm not totally bonkers.
Well,
I never took my job home.
well, is there and I usually ask guys this, and I know you talked about that. Is there a case you ever did that really sticks out in your mind that really bothered you, or you thought, man, I wish I never saw that, or anything really worst case you've ever been on?
Oh Lord, that's hard to tell. There's
Probably
a
had
couple of them. There's a couple of them where we never made an arrest.
They're just hanging out
Once,
there.
yeah. Well, that Eugene Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that was Jim Rowley's tombstone's going to say I couldn't find Eugene.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't say that, but
Yeah.
anyway, there was a lady up on 54th south of Douglas. She's an old spinster,
Right.
and her brother came over and found her. She'd been hit in the face 13 times with a roofing hatchet.
I think I remember that.
And
Found in her house.
yep,
Yeah.
bloodiest scene I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, there was blood all over.
Was there some thought that it may have been a neighbor?
Yeah.
I think I heard that.
And we screwed with that neighbor. Lou Rhodes and I screwed with that neighbor unmercifully.
couldn't get him to.
No, we'd go over and in the daytime while he was working, and turn one light on, turn another one off, and just keep doing stuff like that. And
I have a question, John. I've been dying to ask you this. I don't know if it's ever been posed to you.
here it goes.
Okay.
Hold on.
How would, back in your day, when you were doing a homicide investigation. How beneficial would it have been to you to have had DNA?
It would have been great.
Yeah.
It would. I was there when it first got cranked up,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that would have been good. I'd have loved to had that.
Yeah, I just can't help but think that
Yeah.
would have possibly helped you guys solve some things more quickly, or then not maybe left a cold case, that's still a cold case open.
Do you remember? Did this happen when you were there? Those boys that were working the construction site. It was like a Christmas morning.
That was down there on Fifth and Grand
Downtown.
and three friends, and then there was a dirty bookstore operator was killed later on.
Right.
And I was the only one there that didn't work on that. I was calling old Barney at home to see if I could get the day off, and his wife said, "I don't think so because they had 4 homicides down there." Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to work every
Did
other
they ever
case.
catch that guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Daniel Monroe.
He went in, he killed those kids. They were working on cleaning up their dad's work construction site.
Right.
I remember
Right.
that as a.
You know what I remember about it, John? My application for PD was just about completed in the testing process. My now wife, then girlfriend, and I were driving down Grand Avenue, and they were stopping all the traffic there on a Sunday morning to see if maybe people who were traveling down Grand on a Sunday morning could give them any information. Because I remember for a while there was very little to go on that in that homicide, those homicides. I remember them stopping us and talking to us. Well, we just happened to be driving down Grand Avenue on a Sunday morning. I can't remember where we were coming from, but that wasn't a street we regularly traveled. But they were stopping all the cars just to see if anybody knew anything.
Did they? What was the motive? No motive in this. Just some crazy
Robbery. I think. I don't know about them kids because there was nothing to steal, but he
robbed the
dirty books.
Was that the Blue Nude or something?
I
like
don't
that?
remember the name of it.
There was one of the kids was a good friend of my brother's.
Yeah.
And it bothered my brother Pat a lot because he was from West Des Moines.
Well, I mean, some of those older stories. What was the one where the gal got carried out of the YMCA, wrapped up?
Oh,
in
Pamela Powers.
Pamela Powers.
Yeah, they got him. That's been a few years ago. He died in prison.
Yeah, well, he should have. He should have died before then. But my way. I mean that was a deal that.
That was the one where, in all of their infinite wisdom, they decided that they had to leave out the fact that this guy took him to the body. That's that Christian burial speech of Speed Leemings.
Yeah.
Gave him he talked. When you say that was a conversation that he played on the guy being religious.
Right. He when they went over to pick him up, his attorney told them not to question him.
Right.
Which I don't see anything he done wrong.
They weren't questioning him. He just was talking.
He was saying about, it's got to be a religious thing. The family like to have closure on this, and we just like to have a body. And
driving in the car talking with him.
Yeah, and he took him right to it.
And so then they said, that was questioning, which he wasn't. He was just making a statement,
right.
And the guy bought into it.
Right.
That's...
That was just after I went on to department in 68, December of 68.
I remember all those stick out.
Yeah,
for me.
Was you even born yet?
Yeah. I was born. I was 11, John, when that one went down. I remember reading about it.
I remember hearing that YMCA just stuck out because she was down there for something and
a wrestling match or wrestling tournament with.
I always thought that was kind of odd that they'd have it a place where, homeless guys.
Yeah, it was sad because they found her frozen body, and it's just.
They had it down there because it was, they had a gymnasium,
right,
and they could put all the wrestling.
Because I went down there as a kid to swim. They had a swim indoor pool in some camps, and we went down there. But any funny stories? Any good ones like that? Any things you remember that, or maybe you can't say. Believe it.
No, there's a lot of things happen, and most of them have to do with my partner,
Big Jim
Rowley. Yeah,
AKA Haas.
Haas Cartwright.
The first time I saw Jim, I was down there. I think I don't know what I was down there. I wasn't on the department yet, but I went down there, and all of a sudden I see these guys walking. it's like that show, a 50s cop show. They got the trench coats, and Big Jim had a shotgun, and they were going someplace, and you were probably with them. Everybody going on a call.
I never went anywhere with a shotgun with him.
Shaver and Big Jim. There was a pair to draw from. Not only were they really good at what they did in an official capacity, they could have made a handsome living doing stand-up comedy because they were funny. They were just so much fun.
What's Jim doing now?
He's living down in Lee's Summit, Missouri.
Okay.
His son lives down there, and he didn't apparently no family up here, and he moved down there with his wife.
Yeah.
And, I've talked to him several times, and his head's not gotten any smaller.
Him and Larry Stugart.
I put him up against Larry Stugart any day of the week.
Yeah.
The wind wouldn't blow his hat off because his head had its own gravitational field.
Had its own equator.
That wasn't a wrinkle. That was the equator.
You're gonna have to get him on the. We got to get him to listen to the program.
He's a dandy.
Well,
this guy. One of the funniest things I've ever, and I was always doing something to him, and he couldn't believe it was me doing it. But I went in the office one day and I talked to Ralph Roth, the sergeant in there. I said, every day about 10 o'clock, Rowley takes his gun out and lays it on the desk and goes back to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I just wonder what would happen if somebody turn off the light and throw a water balloon over there. Well, that Roth brought a squirt gun the next morning. And, of course, I know some dummy that had to fill it with water.
Yeah.
Me.
You got the call.
And I gave him about 5 minutes to get all settled in because there was no windows in that toilet.
Oh, no.
It was darker than inside of a bear's ass. Anyway, I gave him time to get sat down, and I just opened the door a little bit and switched the light off. And then I started squirting over the. Well, he never said anything. And I thought, something's wrong. He's dead in there. He's got to be.
Well,
so pretty soon he comes back in, and he never said a word. And I thought,
folks, you got to understand, Big Jim Rowley is about, what, 6'6"?
He's about 6'4" and weighed about 300 pounds. He
he
wasn't fat.
He was a big old man.
Yeah,
he Big John, Big Jim, same thing. They could sing that song for him. I mean,
there were so many characters back then that I just adored them all. And oftentimes I would pinch myself, hey, are they really paying me to come down here to be entertained? And, people like to say, accuse cops of being racist. I can only think in the 34 and a half years I was there, 2 times where a police officer said or did something that could be construed to be racist. Most of the time, if they start teasing you about your ethnicity, it's because they loved you. They've embraced you. I remember one detective, he'd see me in the hallway, and every time he'd say this, I just cracked up. He'd say, "Hey, muy pendejo, frijole." You're very much a son of a bitch and pinto being in Spanish.
Well, I'd like to see Big Jim in a uniform. I never saw him in a uniform.
I did. He worked at Vets Auditorium.
Oh, yeah. He used to work up there off duty all the time.
He could actually stand up and peek over the railing onto the first floor from the basement. Remember that?
He could stand flat-footed and shit in a dump truck.
Well, here you go, folks.
There you go.
We need him back on the department. Yeah. We're going to put you in charge of relations.
Public relations. That'd be your suit.
No.
Dealing with the woke people. Karens when they come in.
Oh, Lord.
Well, I mean, how many chiefs did you work for?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And your last chief was?
Mulder.
We had Bill on the show not too long ago.
Did a great job.
When I went down to get my my plaque and all that stuff after I'd retired, we was in that conference room, and he hands me my plaque, and he's telling me, thanks for all this stuff. And Rowley says, why don't you just give him a big kiss? So I grabbed him and I kissed him right on the cheek. Moon said that's the only time he ever seen that man speechless.
Oh, yeah. That would rattle Mulder's cage. Yeah.
He was on here. He's great.
He's a good guy,
do you know Dana Wingert down there?
I just know him.
Nice guy too.
He worked up there in detectives for a short time before I left.
And then, of course, you knew McCarthy was there before, and Bradshaw. and all those guys. Anyway. So, well, yeah, that's today. What do you think of all this stuff that's going on, this woke stuff? And
I don't know how.
would you do your job differently as a homicide detective today?
Oh, you'd have to.
Yeah.
You can't. They don't want you to do your job anymore. They want you to just sit back and watch what's going on. If something falls into your lap, do it. And there's too many of these cell phones with cameras on it to do anything. And
You get,
and then you only catch the last part of it. You don't see what started the whole thing.
Of course, you get a lot of these idiots that videotape them doing their own crime. I mean,
Yeah.
they go out and commit a felony and they videotape it and put it on YouTube.
You know what? One thing that's benefited law enforcement today that you didn't have,
Body cameras.
and I didn't have, just every street corner has a camera. Every
do
business has
they?
an exterior camera. Yeah,
I
Seems
didn't
like
know
it.
that.
Seems
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
That's fine.
And the body cameras are a plus. I mean,
The body cameras save officers more often than not by a long shot.
yeah.
The only thing the body cameras are good at doing that's bad for guys like us three is when we want to talk to them.
You want to get close and personal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Have
counsel
an
a little
attitude
bit.
adjustment session.
Up close and
Yeah.
personal.
Well, I could never do the job today. I
No.
couldn't do it.
It was getting hard for me to do because I
They don't
remember some guy drove all the way down from Fort Dodge to Mercy ER because his wife or girlfriend had been brought down by an ambulance to Mercy ER.
Yeah.
And he was an ass. And I remember he was wanted on some warrants. She told me that. And so I went out to talk to him. I got in a fight with him. I thumped him. This is probably 2012. And I was told that, David, we no longer do that.
We don't thump people. You
Yeah.
you restrain.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Well,
It's changed.
Well, you know, Dave, I heard this. I can't prove it, but I was told that somebody got video of him headed from one of them fires with a sack full of marshmallows.
there's a yeah.
and making s'mores.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of videos that talk about Dave, and we will go into all that. The Thanksgiving Day turkey. That's right. Yeah.
You remember that one? We talked about that. Since Thanksgiving's coming up here, did we
Right.
talk about that?
No. Don't.
Remember the one with Gomez? He was a rookie officer, went down to the Southeast Bottoms, and a really large lady was laying on the floor in the dining room choking. And so Gomez is a young officer. He's all full of, helping people and saving lives, blah, blah, blah. So he gets down on his knees, and he's in uniform, and he opens her chin and clears her mouth and airway. He pinches her nose. Just as he puts his mouth over her to start CPR, she exchanged her Thanksgiving dinner into his mouth.
Oh.
I didn't
Happy
hear.
Thanksgiving.
I didn't hear about that one.
yeah.
Oh,
I
This
guess
was going to
Gomez-
be our Thanksgiving Day show. Nobody's playing it during dinner. Oh, well,
A lot of war stories
That
like that.
happens to those people. Sometimes.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's folks. That's part of the job. So if you're going to come to apply, you better.
It's just, you're going to see gruesome, nasty
well,
stuff.
when I was working uniform out on the northwest side, the morgue was there at that hospital, 48th and
Northwestern,
Hospital.
yeah.
And Doc Wooters, the medical examiner, was a friend of mine. Good
Right,
guy,
right, yeah.
good guy. And if there was a homicide or something, I'd wait until a lot of cars were. I'd stop just see what was going on. And there was some old man down in the Southeast Bottoms there, got drunk and was sitting there, and his wife got mad at him, and she hit him in the back of the head or in the back of the neck with an axe.
Mm-hmm.
Killed him, graveyard dead right there.
Right.
So I go out there, and this guy's laying on the table. Wooters says, "Hey, I got to show you something." So I walked over there. He did have just a single body refrigerator. Well, he'd gotten us one with two holes in it. And he opened the top one, and there was a body already in there.
Right.
And then he opened the second one, the bottom one. There was some mustard and mayonnaise.
Oh,
It's the old
God.
sandwich that's using that. Like, well,
He was so proud of that.
I remember one of the victim resource officers was up in the morgue at Broadlands, And I was up there for a fire death autopsy, and the VRO had a box of bones belonging to a homicide victim, and he's walking them out of the cooler. And he looks at me, he goes, "Hey, Murillo, he's actually in there chilling."
Yeah. I thought he was going to say barbecue. I don't know, some ribs. Well, I mean, that's yeah. I mean, Doc Wooters, I remember him.
Good guy.
He reminded me of Bela Lugosi.
Yeah,
He could have played.
He was such a good guy.
He would come out of that. He taught at our academy. He came out the academy class.
Yeah.
We would have a class, and it was always interesting. Tell some stories. And one thing I learned from him, he taught me: if there's ever a body and it's been sitting there for a long time,
don't move it.
Don't move it, or don't, when they put it in the bag, don't press down on it.
Oh, yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Tells a story about a deputy doing that one time, and of course, what happened is the body explodes.
Yeah.
And you get all of it.
I'll tell you, and I know John would share my sentiments 100%. No better a person to deal with grieving, bereaved victim family members than Doc Wooters.
My wife was a nurse out of Broadlawn's emergency room. She said if anything ever happened to me and I got killed, she said, I'd want Wooters to tell me.
Come see you.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Wonderful.
I don't think he ever had a case that I can remember that was ever overturned. His findings, they were always 100% on the money.
He was right there.
Yeah, he was the best of the best.
He knew.
No doubt about
that.
it. Good man.
Well, guys, I got to tell you something. We're pretty close to the end of the rope here.
Yeah.
Short. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yep.
John, I want to thank you for coming out.
Great job.
Not a problem.
You
We'll have you
want to come
back.
back and see us? We'll get a case of bear. We'll sit here and we'll just talk. We'll do the
Rowleyism.
The unfiltered stories.
Remember the one day the chicken thing out there at 48th and Hickman?
Yeah. All right, tell that. We got time.
Yeah,
Go on.
We
got to hear this one.
Bjornson was coming to work, and it was a foggy day.
Right.
And he got there, and he says, "You ain't going to believe this." He said, "There was a chicken ran across the road across Hickman in front of me, 48th." And yeah, okay. Yeah. And then about 11 o'clock, he gets on the air and says, "Come over and meet me over here at 48th and Hickman." I got over there, and it was one of them porta potties or whatever. And he says, "There it is." And, of course, old Rowley had to show up. And we called Glade. He was a accident investigator to take a picture of him. And so Rowley says to Bjornson, "Why don't you get in there and get a picture with that?" He says, "No way is anybody going to get a picture of me with a chicken." So we talked Rowley into doing it. And when we got back to the office, you was listening to that story, and he started walking out, and Rowley says, "Murillo," he said, "if there's a cartoon comes out with this, your wife is going to be a widow."
Because Dave, just so the listeners know, he was the artist.
And he did one. And this chicken was all stretched out. And he says, "This big guy."
Yeah, it was Rowley's caught choking his chicken.
Well, there you go, folks. Choking the chicken. That's the round. Big Jim Ryan. You better hope Jim come up here and get you. Well, look, guys, this has been great. It's our Thanksgiving Day show. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. We're going to get you back.
Yep.
Dave?
I want to wish all of our listeners the very best Thanksgiving. It's time to spend with your family and friends. Kick back, try to put the world's problems away just for the day, and just enjoy being in America and being a U.S. citizen.
Eat some food, watch some football. Bob, you're traveling this weekend. You travel safe, and you go up have a good Thanksgiving with your family, too.
And if you need something to eat, stop by French's house. He's going to have Spam. He's
Spam and porn. Spam and porn. All right, guys. Well, thanks.
All right.
Talk to you next
See
time.
you guys.
See you.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Cop Talk USA with your hosts, Murillo and French.